Mr. Secretary, it's great to see you here at Gastech, but I have to ask you, first of all, about the attack on Doha. In your mind, are we going to see more of these kinds of attacks? So the world be prepared?
Oh, I don't know about that. Look, we've got a great President and Secretary of State focused on the foreign policy end, but I will tell you that what's Hamas's impact in the world been? It's been, of course, to terrorize Israel, but it's also been to terrorize the Palestinian people. Living in the West Bank was not a great place to be. That's because of Hamas. The world is a better place if Hamas is eliminated.
But what about the Gulf oil producers? A lot of them are feeling unsettled and even unsafe.
We want the opposite of that, of course. We want peace and security among the Gulf oil producers and our allies across the region. Hamas has been a great threat to that security, and so has Iran. The United States wants to work together with our allies in the Gulf to bring peace to the region and prosperity to the region.
And you don't anticipate we're going to see any more hits in that part of the world?
None that I'm aware of. I think we're going to move in a direction towards peace, but you've got to eliminate the threats to peace before you can get to peace.
Walk me through how you saw OPEC's decision over the weekend to put more barrels on the market.
I think OPEC is focused on long-term growth of energy. If the world's going to become a better place, we need a lot more energy. They don't want to erode their market share, and the economy is growing, and I think they see the economy is going to grow faster in the coming years. We got to have a well-supplied oil market.
So you don't see that as a problem for the United States?
I do not.
Absolutely. When you think about what happens next with regards to gas, we're here at Gastech, lots of questions about U.S. supplies in Europe. What are some of the deals that we can expect?
Oh, there's still a fair amount of Russian natural gas that comes into Europe, both via pipeline and via LNG. And oil comes into Europe as well, and particularly after it's refined in China or India, comes into Europe. So we want America to become a larger supplier of energy to Europe. We're an ally and we're a secure supplier. I know confidence was undermined when President Biden introduced a pause on growing U.S. LNG exports. What a terrible idea, and I think that puts some uncertainty. Is the U.S. really going to be there? The U.S. is really going to be there. U.S. natural gas exports will double in the next 5 years. We're already the world's largest exporter, and we have approvals to double it again after that. So we want Europe to understand we're going to be a reliable, secure supplier of energy to them for the long run.
I know that you're headed to Brussels once you're finished here in Milan. What are you hoping to hear from the Europeans?
We want to talk about security together, economic security and national security. The U.S. and Europe really diverged dramatically in energy policy after the financial crisis. Before the financial crisis, the U.S. was about 25% of global consumption. The European region was about 25% of global consumption. Today, the U.S. is 28%, Europe is 18%. They've had almost no economic growth. If you implement policies that make energy expensive and unreliable and count on foreign adversaries, that's just not good for your economy and it's not good for your national security. These are our allies in Europe. We want a thriving, prosperous European region, not just for the citizens of Europe, but it's good for peace in the world as well.
Talk to me about putting Russia out of business. We've seen President Trump moving, of course, on those tariffs for India. In your mind, what's next?
It takes cooperation around the world to do it. If the U.S. tries to tighten the stranglehold on that and pipeline natural gas and LNG arrive in Europe, we can't control that. So we need to work together with our European allies and our allies around the world to put enough pressure on Russia to bring this 3.5-year-old brutal war to an end. Everyone will win by that, including the Russian people, the Ukrainian people, and the world.
When I speak to the Russians, they accuse the United States of price gouging in terms of selling our LNG to Europe. What would be your response to that?
Oh, that's our goal is to energize our allies, energize our citizens at home and our allies. Artificial intelligence is a huge new demand for growing energy. The United States wants to lead the way on that, but we want our allies in the Middle East and in Europe and Asia to join us in that effort. All of this requires more energy, much more energy.
Yeah, Minister, final question. When you think about what happens next in the energy space, I'm talking about lower oil prices. When are we going to see oil prices above 80 once again?
I don't know. Look, 100% of the people in the United States and Europe consume oil and gas, and about 1% produce it. So in general, it's a win to have lower oil and gas prices. But of course, you got to have a supply. You got to have a price high enough to incent that supply. But I think with the regulatory reforms the Trump regime is doing, getting rid of the nonsense that are trying to stand in the way of hydrocarbons, we're lowering the cost to produce them. That's allowing a lower long-term price for oil, lower long-term price for natural gas. better for our country, better for the world.
And sir, final question, how relevant is OPEC today in the context of the United States being the biggest energy producer?
OPEC's still relevant because it's a large producer as well, but it doesn't have a stranglehold over the economy that it had, 20, 30, 40 years ago. That's thanks to the American shale revolution, thanks to the policies of President Trump, that we're no longer going to try to stifle American energy, we're going to try to energize it, which is really the government getting out of the way. Private capital, private innovation, that's what drives production growth in the United States. But for the last administration spent 4 years trying to strangle it. No one wins from that.
Mr. Secretary, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Hadley.